What's happening, y'all? What's good? I'm the G with a PhD. You're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. It is the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up with no chases. Um, Straight up and down, no special effects today. I want to give a shout out to all of the members of the Green Gorilla channel, of course, as I always do. So let's start that process. I want to give a shout out to, I'm trying to get this situated right now, man. My computer's acting a little sluggish. I apologize for that. Um, Shout out to the final watcher, Brotherly Love 215, Charles Gilmore, Diego Harry, Patricia Cowley, Stephen, 7Q Pitt, Kwaku Isasi, Super Tech, Liz Terrell, Rogish the Billmonger, Michael Ross, Gregory Oliver, Darkside Misanthrope, Greg, Rais Muajid, Darnell Smith, Antonio Ferria, Barry Little, Alan Wiley, Mr. Valentino, Jason Hales, Black Men Being Brutally Honest, 77 Base X, Craig, Omni Americana, Cameron 87, Deshaun Nolly, Brian Peaks, Nelso, Apex Prowler, Kareen Henry, Doc LaRock, Julius Ferguson, B. Hillfire, J. Charles, Mark Holt, Lee Ways, Jeffrey Speed, The Face, Mark Swift, Show Me, Black Dog, Odd Collar, Deanne, Donna Watts, Cozy Corner, Hip Hop.catv, Coach DC, The Remedy, Kashif Caldwell, Ominous Black, I Am Black Man, Nichita, True King 337, Mr. Blue Collar, Barnolas, Kyle J. Sewer, I'm Just Jules, Ad Media 83, Brian McMurray, TD Hip Hop Media, Drew Main, Artisan MC, Mr. Heat, Afro Analyst, Isa Abdul Zahir, Sir Anthony, MLR, Charles Rogers, Universal 178, Black's Word 404, Rashid Barnes, Emerald Smith, D8, C Truth the Revelator, Gold Professor, Arthur Unknown, Dr. Tiasan Johnson, Kalan Jakala, Ricky Dawson, Cedric Bowman, True 7360, BK Bourne Shaheed, James Washington, Hostile Adept, Seven Coast Dojo, W Pure One, BGS Ibmore, and Marvin Battle Jr. So I appreciate all of your support and all your help. And on the Patreon side, I also want to give a shout out to a few brothers. But I want to let you know, man, right now, I'm still in pain. I had surgery on Monday. I had some teeth pulled, man, out of my mouth, and so that shit is still hurting, man. So, but anyway, I want to give a shout out to some of the brothers, man, who helped me out on the Patreon side. I want to give a shout out to, damn, man, this computer's just being real slow. Darnell Smith, Chris York, Excalibur, Jason Warren, Soul Pen, Anu 219, Pursuer Prisoner, Taz, Kwaku 217, Dragon 59, Supreme Ibmore, Adrian Hicks, Jay Bailey, Mr. Michi, Momal, and the Sangua. Shout out to y'all, man. I appreciate your help and your support. Straight up. So and shout out to Barry Little, man. What's good with you, brother? Bonafide, what's happening with you? Heru Atten Patah, shout out to you. Salute to all of y'all, man. Lee Rittenauer, Christopher Clipper, John Public, Jones Boy, Computer Geek, Brotherly Love 215. Shout out to y'all, man. I appreciate your help and your support. Real talk. So to make a long story short, man, today I started straight up and down, no special effects. And I just want to keep this simple, man. I want to talk about miseducation. And I'm going to invite you to come in and have this conversation with me if you would like, or you don't have to if you don't like. But I'm leaving the link. But what I do know is that it's a lot of us here walking around, man, thinking we're educated and we're in the know and we're in possession of true knowledge, but a lot of us are confused. And nothing wrong with being confused. There's nothing wrong with not knowing. However, what you do need to understand is exactly what's going on with us politically. And today, I decided to focus on the miseducation of, a certain segment of the black population, black women, because they're supposed to be the most educated class, but to some extent, I think that they're the most miseducated class of persons, especially as it pertains to common sense, understandings of politics and the way race plays out. And for some reason, we're still having these conversations which I think are just ridiculous. We've been having these conversations for the past, 60, 70 years. So anyway, this was already covered, but I want to cover it myself. It was already discussed on another person's show, but I want to discuss it myself. And I'm going to show you something, right? It's a clip. So let me share the screen. It's going to be to share the screen. And I'm going to read it to you. And thank you, Computer Geek, for offering some help, bro. Appreciate that. I'm gonna show you this, man. And so right now, man, you got black men and black women in competition over work related resources, jobs, opportunities, offices and positions related to the work world, academia, corporate America. The list goes on. Okay. But this is interesting because this is an old article, man. Greenville, South Carolina. Very old, man. 1918 is when this article was written. So we're talking about what, 60 years or so after emancipation, right? Black people are free. So black men, are beginning to work and, to get a footing in building themselves up. I mean, many of them are starting families. Some of them are going, into the armed services and so on and so forth. But man, this is an interesting article because they passed in Greenville. I think this is South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Greenville, South Carolina. They put together an ordinance to put Negro women to work. This is just it's strange to me because right now, black women, will try to demonstrate their fitness or their, what can I say, their meritoriousness by means of the work that they do or the titles that they hold, as they engage in work related or career related life. This is odd. It's odd because black women have always been forced to work. They've never had an opportunity in which they could just be, okay, I'm gonna be a stay-at-home mom. I'm gonna take care of the domestic affairs related to a household, which white women have been able to do for quite a bit of time, and to facilitate the education of their own children on their own terms, and to order the work of black domestics, in particular black women. So anyway, I mean, black people are free now. They can do what they want to do, for the most part, within limits. But I mean, they can take up the kind of work they want. They can have the kind of family structures that they want, and ultimately, this threw a monkey wrench in the social structure of the white family. It threw a monkey wrench. It disrupted the normal business of the white family. And of course, the white family has always had at its beck and call black domestics to be able to do menial and servile work. Always been the case. But I mean, many of you have had discussions like this, in the context of this space. Okay, so let's look at the article. Negro women to be put to work. City ordinance soon to be passed requiring them to be regularly employed. Now, notice that you don't see anything like this for black men, like black men must be employed. See, what they do is, I'm just going to keep it funky for you, man. I don't like to stretch things out. Sometimes I do, but tonight I'm not. They want to keep black women employed in their houses or in their corporations or wherever they see they need menial and servile labor. See, they're good with that because, black women don't pose a threat. Although, in the imaginary of a lot of black women, they're like these warrior princesses and shit like that. But like white folks are under no illusion. Like you're not a threat to us. These Negroes, these men, they're a threat. But you're not a threat. So come on, you can come in the house and you can breastfeed little Johnny and little Missy Sue, and you can talk, shit within the context of the household. But understand there's a limit to which you ought to, you can go though. Okay, so we'll allow you to have some facile discipline, over our children, but not too much. When they get older, then you become ordered by them. Because that's just the natural hierarchy. I'm just setting the stage for this. You had some black men who worked in the house also, but I guarantee you more black women worked inside of white households than did black men. Because if that was not the case, then what they would have an article stating that they need black men inside of these white homes. And man, come on, Zaddy ain't gonna have some stud up in his house who could potentially be knocking his wife down as and turn him into a cuckold. That ain't about to happen. That's not going to happen. So they're going to bring her into the house to do the work, the dirty work of the house, which is beneath Miss Ann or Becky or Karen, whatever, however you want to call it. All right. So the article says, regardless of whether they want to or have to, able-bodied Negro women in Greenville who are not regularly employed are to be put to work, put in jail, or fined heavily. So again, this is not a new article. I've seen it in my inbox for about a month or so. The Funky Academic did a video on it. And some other people are probably going to end up doing some videos about this. But you got a group of black women who didn't have to work, and now white folks are saying, you got to bring your ass to work. We want you to work. At its special meeting yesterday afternoon, City Council discussed the situation with regard to this class of loafers at some length. So they called them lazy because they weren't working. And it seemed that all members of council were agreed that steps should be taken to compel them to engage in some useful occupation. It was decided that an ordinance similar to the one now in force requiring all able-bodied men to work at least 5 days per week should be passed with regard to these women. So, okay, there was a law requiring men who are able-bodied to be at work 5 days a week. But surely there's no such ordinance for white women. When have you ever heard of such a thing? Because they were stay-at-home wives, right? Anyway, such an ordinance will be prepared and voted on at the next regular meeting of council. A number of complaints have come to members of council of Negro women who are not at work and who refuse employment when it is offered them. The result being that it is exceedingly difficult for families who need cooks and laundresses to get them. Can you dig it? It's like, okay, you're going to work. These women are like, no, I think I'm good. It's cool. I'm going to chill out. I'm going to stick at home with my family and do work in my home and take care of my kids. I don't need to go take care of your kids. Why don't you take care of your kids? But anyway, it's exceedingly difficult for white families who need cooks and laundresses to get them. Wives of colored soldiers getting a monthly allowance from the government have a number of them declined to work on the ground that they can get along without working, according to reports. Others have flatly refused jobs without giving any reason whatever, while still others pretend that they are employed when, as a matter of fact, they derive a living from illegitimate means. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I mean, I guess that if it don't fit into the white economic scheme and it could be taxed and broken down, could be prostitution, numbers running, who knows, man? I don't know. They're probably talking about prostitution. But who knows? Black people, can exchange dollars for services, and all the services don't have to be of an illegitimate or an illicit kind. Anyway, the proposed ordinance will require them all to carry a labor identification card showing that they are regularly and usefully employed, and the labor inspectors and police will be charged with the duty of rigidly enforcing this law, or enforcing the law. You got to work. You got to take your Negro ass to work, black woman. Take your ass to work. And this is why, I decided to talk about miseducation, because apparently a whole bunch of these women decided that it wasn't in their best interest to work because they had benefits that their husbands were receiving, that their husbands were allocating towards them so that they didn't have to go to work. They didn't have to. But if you look at today's situation, you see a situation in which black men and women are competing over work, competing over education and resources. Why is this? This is crazy to me. And one of the reasons why I wanted to cover this article, right, is because, let me stop the screen. Because a brother asked me, he said, well, and I'm gonna quote him. I'm not gonna tell you who it is because he might not want his name known, but he basically comes out and says, look, brother, I've been doing some research on the My Brother's Keeper initiative, and one commonality surrounding it is that it was sabotaged by black women. Do you have any supporting documentation or articles that you could share to support that argument? Because as it stands, the initiative incorporates all young men of so-called color. And he says this is very disheartening, so on and so forth. And my response is basically, look, it wasn't, My Brother's Keeper wasn't shut down exclusively by black women, but by all kinds of progressive people that characterize the program as sexist. Just look it up. Just all you got to do is look up My Brother's Keeper is sexist, and then you will see all of the articles of people disparaging My Brother's Keeper, discussing how it neglects black girls, neglects black women, is unfair, how it doesn't give them a leg up, and so on and so forth. But I just want you to think about this in the context of education and miseducation, because first of all, black women have always had to work. But when black women were offered the opportunity to exist on a plane comparable to that of white women by black men being lifted up and given the kind of jobs that are commensurate with them being able to take care of households without having women to work, the women didn't even want to work. They were like, man, I'm cool. I'm good. I don't want to work around you, Miss Ann. I don't want to be in your house, Becky and Karen. I don't want to be involved with y'all. I don't want to be all up in your business. I got business of my own to attend to. I'm good. I don't need to do that. So how soon we forget. This is what happens when you actually have black men who are functioning, flourishing, and thriving commensurate with white dudes. But now we're in a whole different kind of situation, man. It's competition. It's competition. But this competition has been there from the very beginning. This competition, if the competition initiated with black men and black men and white women. That's where the competition began. Just in case you didn't know. What's up, Prophet of Thought? What's going on? What's up, Chief Rocket? What's cracking, bro? Very little. What's happening with you, brother? And look, man, I'm in pain, so it is what it is, man. If every now and then I gotta stop. But the competition began with black men and white women in competition over the same shit that's occurring exactly now. And as far as I'm concerned, all of this is nothing more than an extension of that same competition between black men and white women over black men actually being lifted up to the same level as white dudes. That's all this is about. And now you got black women who are competing with black men over work and resources and position, which would lift them up. Because at the end of the day, you can't lift the black community up by just apportioning programs and policies directed towards ending sexism. That's not going to fucking move the needle. It's not going to change the temperature in the building, yo. It ain't moving the needle. It's not going to move the needle. In fact, I mean, when it comes to black men and white men, there's a big fat lacuna. It's a gap, man, a humongous gap. But when it comes to black women and white women, the gap ain't that big. When it comes to education, it's not that large. When it comes to upward mobility, it's not that large. When it comes to a whole host of indexes on how long you live, incarceration rates, I mean, like, black women are going to see some effects of race to some degree, but they're not going to see it like black men. So if you want to get things straight, if you want to get the situation working the way it ought to work or the way it should work, then you got to empower black men. But see, nobody wants to do this because everybody wants to follow the sexism trope. But I did a video a long time ago talking about racism versus sexism. And there was a woman by the name of Ann Dummett. And she basically says, qualitatively, there's no comparison between sexism and racism. It just ain't the same. It's not the same, bro. It ain't the same, sis. There's no comparison between sexism and racism. But for some reason, we got to have some kind of ism that white women had to have, in order to fucking thrust themselves forward. And for what? I'm beginning to think this is like a team sport to keep the darky black male down. And everybody's willing to play it. Everybody's willing to participate in the game. Do what you can to keep the darky male down. Keep darky boy down. I don't know how many. Thank you, Chaos Rain. Appreciate your help there, man. Tell him, man. Chief Rocket, thank you for your support, sir. Show me, thank you for your support. And thank you, Michael Johnston, for your support on the Cash App. Let's get the lights up, man. I can't see who's watching and who's not watching, or who's, how many people have liked the video or who haven't. But if you're in here, man, please like, share, subscribe. That's all free. At least you can do that. Like, share, subscribe. If you don't like it, hit the thumbs down button. At least there's some engagement. At least there's some engagement. Shonda, I think you're right there when you say it's two totally different engagements. They shouldn't be compared with one another. There's two totally different dynamics. I agree. But here's the kicker. People act like sexism doesn't occur to men and is not utilized as a weapon against men. See, we can understand sexism and genderism as it pertains to women, but we can't understand and explain that as it pertains to men. We can't understand men being the victims of sexist animus. We just don't understand it because we assume that all men, in virtue of being men, as they are male qua male, they're privileged. This is why people can say things like black male privilege. When I first heard it, I couldn't understand it. I couldn't relate to it. I'm like, man, that's some bullshit. Black male privilege, you mean? And I told the person who told me I was privileged, I said, you mean the privilege to get shot? The privilege to go to prison? You mean that kind of privilege? To them, privilege means being seen. That's what the fuck it is. Being seen. That's privilege to them. Attention is that which they attach, meaning and significance to. Being seen, being made visible, recognized, because they want to be at the forefront. They want people to say, look at me. It's like a kid wanting the gold star or the pat on the back or, the plaque or the reward or the trophy. Shit, in a world where racism exists and people get shot and killed and murdered and hung from trees, I would prefer to be invisible and not perceived and not seen. I would prefer to fly under the fucking radar. But that's just me though. But to demonstrate to you, man, that this has been happening from the very beginning, I mean, just to illustrate that this has been occurring from the beginning, man. From the beginning. I'm going to show you a quote from Frederick Douglass. And Frederick Douglass was a woman's right advocate. Women's rights advocate. I mean, the man was like, look, when it comes to women having the same rights as men, give them to them. I mean, and here's a list of things that he says. Right is of no sex. Truth is of no color. God is the father of us all, and we are all brethren. What is the true history of the anti-slavery cause shall be written? When the true history of the anti-slavery cause shall be written, women will occupy a large space in its pages, for the cause of the slave has been peculiarly women's cause or woman's cause. Observing women's agency, devotion, and efficiency in pleading the cause of the slave. Gratitude for this high service early moved me to give favorable attention to the subject of what is called woman's rights and caused me to be denominated a woman's rights man. I am glad to say I have never been ashamed to be thus designated. So here he is supporting white women in their pursuit of suffrage and a whole host of other, rights that they feel they have been prevented from enjoying because of the white male patriarchy. Of course, black men had nothing to do with this, we know. Being like a generation or two removed from slavery. I mean, just look at the quotes. Woman should have justice as well as praise. And if she is to dispense with either, she can better afford to part with the latter than the former. So don't praise them. If just give them justice. We hold women or woman to be justly entitled to all we claim for man. We go farther and express our conviction that all political rights, which it is expedient for man to exercise, it is equally so for women. So you see Frederick Douglass basically championing the suffragette cause. And then what did they do? As soon as black men are about to be enfranchised, they try to throw a monkey wrench in the program. They do everything they can to obstruct, to obfuscate, and to prevent it from occurring. And then they use racist tropes in order to facilitate that obstruction. That's what they do. So then Frederick Douglass has to do an about face. He has to say something different. And he says, on putting a priority, and here's the quote that I'm using, after these women turned their backs on him, which is what they did. They were like, screw you, Fred. Fuck you, Fred. Fuck everything you're talking about, Fred. Even though Fred is out there like one of the most, charismatic, one of the most enchanting and entrancing speakers of his era, he's out there getting it in, championing the causes of women. And then they all of a sudden become obstructionists and they use racism to do so. I'm talking about Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony and a cadre of other women. But then he says, look, on putting a priority after the Civil War on votes for African American males before women in general, when women, because they are women, are dragged from their homes and hung upon lampposts, when their children are torn from their arms and their brains dashed upon the pavement, they will have the urgency to obtain the ballot. Until they are dragged from their homes, hung on lampposts, and when their children are torn from their arms and their brains dashed upon the pavement, just for being women, then they will have the urgency to obtain the ballot. And this is what Frederick Douglass is saying. Look, there is something about the condition of black men or black folk. I don't think he was speaking just for black men either at that point, but he was speaking for black men insofar as they were considered for the franchise. And here they come trying to obstruct it. And he's like, look, we're being killed here. You bitches live in luxury, motherfucker. I mean, you're living the good life. You live in a good life. We're living the fucked up life. You're living a good life, and you want to be able to vote now so you can say to your man, look here, huh? Now, Johnny, after this motherfucker went out and conquered the whole damn near known world for y'all. And this is how you repay him? We're talking miseducation, man. We're talking about miseducation. Now, black women, like, they demonstrate their fitness to black men by means of their education and their occupation. I mean, look, I'm not for holding back women from working, whether they be white or black. I'm not here to, make that case. But what I am making the case about is, when did the switch occur? When did it just so happen that all of a sudden there's this focus on black women working and competing with black men and being obstructionists as black men are about to try to handle their issues and their problems? Why is it now that, like, there are a lot of black women who are doing the same shit that Miss Ann was doing as it pertains to black men trying to get their shit together or to, make their case that there needs to be something to deal with the unjust situation that exists related to white men and black men in relation to parity along wealth lines, education lines. So then the question is, why are we being obstructed in this regard? Why? And this is to answer the question to the brother, like, well, what happened to my brother's keeper? I mean, as soon as this wasn't even about to put a bullet, well, a band-aid on a bullet wound. My brother's keeper wasn't even about to do shit for real at all. But before it could even do anything at all, they were among the first people to shut the shit down. But it wasn't just black women that shut the shit down either. It was white women that shut it down, white men that shut it down. All kind of people came out the woodwork like, oh, no, no, no. If it comes time to help black men out specifically, no, 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 no. Can't have that. Do not want that. That's sexist. So black men, like more black men being incarcerated in the United States than women in the entire fucking world, that's not sexist? It's just racist, right? So black men being treated like fucking criminals at the age of fucking 5, 6, 7 years old in school. That shit ain't sexist? But to point it out though is sexist though, right? It's taking attention away from the true oppressed, right? This is why I don't like intersectionality, man. This is why I don't like contemporary feminist politics. This is why I don't like that shit. And no, I'm not going to talk softly and quietly about it. I'm going to just talk about it the way it is. I'm going to talk to it and talk about it in common language, in common vernacular. You mean that shit that happens to us is not sexist? I want to show you another article. This is the way of thinking. As far as I'm concerned, what these women have created is a framework in which any attempt by black men to resolve their issues will be met with ideological resistance. That's what the shit is about, as far as I'm concerned. It's all a ruse. And they know it is. This is intellectual, psychological warfare in order to keep black men the fuck down. That's how I think about this shit. I'm just keeping it 100. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm imagining shit, and I'm paranoid or something. But the more I look at this, the more I think, and when I examine the things that these people say, the more I'm beginning to think that this is nothing, or has ever been nothing more than a form of intellectual warfare designed to be able to firmly entrench anti-black misandric framing, such that these Negroes will never have an opportunity to operate on parity with white men, and which means that nobody in the black community is going to actually be able to operate on parity with anybody else. Because if you don't lift the men up, then the women are going to suffer. They're going to have to work and do double work, which is why I feel like they're just absolutely terribly miseducated. They bought everything Miss Ann sold them. And they believe that Miss Ann has their best interest in mind. And I just don't understand that shit. I'm confused. I'm fucked up about it. I just don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't get it. Now, it might make a certain group of black women feel good right here and now. Oh, I feel good. Look, what kind of job I have. Look at me. I'm a boss bitch. I'm a boss ass bitch. Bitch. Okay, that's cool, right? But in the long run, is that going to help out the entirety of the fucking community? And I'm not trying to look out for the entirety of the community by means of some nationalistic ideology. I'm just talking about in reference to just the everyday happenings and interactions between people trying to build families. How's that going to help in the long run where you are engaging in mammy domesticism at these corporations and at these universities? How is that going to, in the long run, be a fix? You got an entire fucking demographic who's doing way worse than white dudes. I mean, do you imagine yourself one day having the same power as white dudes, as black women? Like, that shit ain't gonna happen. Okay, it's not going to occur. I'm sorry. I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you. If I had to be Nostradamus, like some sort of great Swami, some oracle making a prediction, my prediction is that as it pertains to economic and social parity with white men, black women will fucking never arrive there. Okay? It ain't gonna happen. I'm sorry. I have to reveal this news to you. You're never going to be perceived along the same lines as a white dude. They're not going to look at you like a white dude. They're not going to engage you like a white dude. Now, I'm not trying to be ignorant and say, that you don't have any value or worth. But if your value or worth comes with comparing yourself to white dudes, man, you're going to be fucked up. You already are comparing yourself to white women, but at least that's reachable. That's attainable. But white dudes, and see, this begins to tear down a whole bunch of assumptions about the nature of equality, or and parity and equity in our culture as it pertains to the differences that happen in the lives of men and women in general. It's like everybody wants to like just kind of equalize shit. But why would you want to equalize everything anyway? Men and women are orientated towards the world in different kinds of ways. Given the opportunity to stay at home with the children, a lot of women are going to make that. They're going to make that call and say, look, I'd rather stay at home with my kids and to ensure their education and enculturation, as opposed to trying to show off and to let everyone know that I'm an accomplished person too. I can do it too. Why should guys have all the fun? Most of these guys don't want to go to work either. A lot of the work they do is menial, back-breaking, repetitive. But they do it because they have a sense of duty to do it, because they want to provide for their families and their children and to ensure that they have a better life than they had. Now we got situations in which, you know, we got families with no fathers around, and the women are like trading sex tapes, watching each other's sex tapes and shit. Like, what the fuck is going on with our culture, man? What is going on with it, man? Like, what's happening? Motherfuckers act like, okay, like working is a passport to freedom. No, it's a duty to take care of your fucking family situation and to take care of your immediate needs. Is what the fuck work is. But again, that's why I showed you those videos about the feminist movement, or has the women's liberation movement been a spectacular disaster, or has it been disastrous? Because I wanted to go back and to examine it and to see the arguments that women were making and men were making, with each other about this issue. And as far as I'm concerned, careerism has been deified in the United States. Too much. There's too much deification of careerism. And I don't mind people having careers, you know, and having meaning inside of their lives outside of the context of filial life. But what they've done is the corporations have convinced the general public that the most rewarding kind of life to live is a career life where you spend most of the productive time of your life working for somebody else, being paid the minimal amount that you can get paid for performing that type of work, but at the same time telling you that being involved in a long-term familial relationship is oppressive. It's beneath you, especially to women. They're selling women this, that being connected to a man long term inside of the context of a familial relationship is oppression. But going to work is not oppressive at all. And taking orders, because everything that you got to do inside of the context of a family situation with a so-called man that's in charge is the same shit you got to do at one of these jobs with a boss that's in charge. You still got to take fucking orders, more so at your job than at your house. At least you got some sort of say in your household. You ain't got no say whatsoever at your job. Not for real. If your boss tell you to do X, Y, and Z, what you gonna say? Well, I don't feel like we should be doing that, Jim. Please. The fuck out of here. You ain't gonna tell Jim that shit. You gonna do what Jim tell your ass to do. And then complain about it when you get off over a fucking set of cocktails with your girlfriends and shit, or at the fucking nail shop. But that's just the way I see it. So I want you to see this article. So when it was a situation in which black men were about to be able to be written in, white women said no, and then black women followed white women and said, no, 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 that's sexist, sexist, sexist. Black men being ahead, giving a leg up, no, 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 sexist, sexist, sexist. And they just keep piling on these arguments, and more and more and more and more, you hear the same echo chamber. It's the same song sung in a different key. But it has the same structure, but it's just a different key. And then they tell black men who notice this shit, who has the inkling that something might be awry, they'll tell you you're a misogynist. And this is what I don't like. That's what I don't like. That means you're insulting my intelligence. You're insulting my intelligence. So here's the article right here. Are black women invisible? Are black women invisible? Say her name. End state violence against black girls and women. Say her name. Now, we already know that every year it's a damn near around 250 to 300 black men who get killed by the police or vigilantes in the United States. Black women, it's around 6 to 10. And I'm not taking away what's happening to black women, but God damn it, it's like, okay, you got a group of people, it happens hundreds of times to another group of people, it happens at least, okay, 10 or so times a year. 100 times versus 10 times a year. Who should we focus on? So now it becomes a competition over attention related to death? Are you fucking serious? This is how this plays out. And I don't like it at all, man. This is the most backwards, miseducated form of politics and political orientation I've ever seen. We're playing interest group politics over death, attention over death. And as soon as black men begin to talk about, look, I don't want to die anymore. We don't want to be undereducated anymore. We don't want to be siphoned off to the school to prison pipeline. We don't want to be homeless. We don't want to be the lowest in, mortality rates. We want to do something to try to address the situation. Why it's sexist? Because you're only focusing on yourself. But nobody's saying anything about women who are focusing on themselves, because that's progressive, right? I'm just trying to get a reading on this, man. I don't like the way the framing and the narrative has been established. This is what I take pause and issue with. So anyway, you got Stephen Henderson speaking with Kadada Williams, professor of African American history at Wayne State. Sharon Davis, the founding member of the Institute for Healing Racism and author of A Safe Place to Talk About Race. Jesus Christ. And Desiree Cooper, a freelance journalist and a women's rights activist, and the author of the upcoming book of short fiction, Know the Mother. They discussed the intersection, there it goes again, of sexism and racism and how America perceives Black women and the role Black women play in activism. I say right now, Black women are activated to act towards benefits for themselves. They don't really see us as a collective anymore. That's just my honest assessment of what the fuck is going on. They think it's cool for them to advocate and advance their own interests while at the same time telling you that any approach that you make to deal with your issues specifically is sexism. That shit is gaslighting to me. That's what this is to me. I'm just being honest. So you can do everything to look after your interests and to bring about, you know, some sort of improvement in your own lot and condition. But as soon as we try to do the shit, oh, it becomes sexism, right? Then you're rendered invisible. Here we go again, playing this bullshit attention game. And it's the game nobody wants to talk about because everyone is interested in preserving the poor little damsel's feelings. And I'm like, man, at this point, man, these motherfuckers said they want to be equal politically and socially. That's what they said, right? But you still want to fucking act like they some goddamn damsels in distress. They not treating you. If they're stepping over your dead fucking carcass and getting paid. And then you still want to play the damsel game? I'm sorry. That shit ain't gonna work today, not for me. It might work for you, but that shit ain't gonna work for me, bro. I'm sorry. It's not gonna work for me. It just ain't gonna work. So they go on to say the focus on Black men. Why does it happen so much? Why does race tend to focus on Black men rather than Black women? So instead of coming up with the idea that, okay, maybe Black men are more viciously assaulted related to race, maybe the way race plays out is gender specific against Black men, instead of acknowledging that, they have to find a way to twist and contort every fucking little thing to make it come back that they somehow doing worse off. Not empirically, but ideologically. Because it's the thought associated with Blackness and it's masculine. It's not feminine. So Black women can be rendered invisible. She gives President Obama's My Brother's Keeper program as an example of male-focused outreach. So fuck all the shit you got, your outreach. Fuck every program dedicated and allocated to women to help them, which we know there are many, okay? Many, 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 many. From Section 8 to SNAP to WIC to child income tax credit, all that shit, especially if they got kids, they get benefits. And this is primarily because Black men are not perceived as custodians over the lives of children. Women are. Uplifting community. Williams said that some of the reason outreach focuses on men is because of the assumption that uplifting Black men uplifts the whole community. She says that historically this is not true because Black women and girls consistently give back to the whole community while men do not to the same degree. Oh my fucking God, bro. Man. Do you see that, man? So black women give back to the whole fucking community, whereas black men only give shit to themselves, right? Women and girls consistently give back to the whole community while men do not to the same degree. Give back fucking what? Give back what? Social media and cultural awareness. Stephen says that he feels America is at a unique point in race relations because of how people are responding to and discussing the violence they learn about. David says people are exposed to more information because of social media. She says people must be careful not to reinforce violent stereotypes. Okay, well, Sandra Bland. He states, Stephen says he sees racial and gender dynamics in the video of Bland's arrest. He states that he does not believe she would have been talked down to or treated as aggressively if she were a man, black or white. Oh, man, look, I'm done with that bullshit. I can't look at that no more. This is the miseducation, bruh. So a black men who are getting killed by police way more often at 20 times the rate of black women can talk more sassy to the fucking police without consequences than a woman. Are you serious, man? And they all sit around. Oh, I agree. You know, if it was a man that said something aggressive to another man, it would have been taken more different. Yeah, it would have put a fucking gun to his head and said, "Fuck you." Who are you talking to? Men encounter aggression with other men differently than what they do with women. But anyway, man, you know, all I can say is we're dealing with some shit that's about, as far as I'm concerned, it's about miseducation, man. You would assume that everything that they're telling you is right. But as far as I'm concerned, damn near everything they're telling you is wrong. It ain't right. It's wrong. They're telling you that when you put interest in your own self, that somehow you're doing something wrong. When all the while they've put policies, they've gotten institutional support, they've done everything they can to put themselves in a position to where they don't have to look at about anybody else's interest but their own. They don't have to look after anybody but the goddamn self. As soon as you even make a statement, look, I'm shot here, I'm dying here, I'm hurting here. Let's try to do something to remedy this. Okay, well, fuck y'all. But what about us? And BGS, you just put up, man, like a video. It was talking about the way that black men and white men compare, apples and apples, and how black women and white women compare, oranges and oranges, and how the real inequalities, the most staggering kinds of inequalities along the lines of race exist between not black women and white women, but between black and white men. That's where the racial dynamics and the differences actually play out. Not at the intersections of race, class, and gender the way these women are talking about it. That's not where it plays out. It plays out between men. And goddamn, it's time to stop lying about this shit. It's done. I'm done with these people, man, and this propaganda shit. These people are arguing over jobs and status. That's all this shit is. It's about jobs and status. It's not about the net improvement of the black community as a whole. It's about jobs and status, bro. That's all this shit is about. Who can run it? And if you consider, if this shit is running the black community, man, boy, you running this shit into the ground. It's being it's been run to hell. It's time to let somebody else get in the driver's seat. That's just my opinion, man. If you got something to say about it, you think I'm wrong, I'm encouraging you to step up and let me know in what ways that I am wrong. So Anthony says, save yourself, black man. I'm beginning to think that, yes, you may as well save yourself because ain't nobody else going to save you. And BGS says black women want power. But, I mean, but really, but what kind of power are you getting? The power you're getting is not really empowering to you in the long run. That's the issue. It's a superficial kind of power that is predicated upon keeping the one segment of your population down. That shit will not work in the long run. And black men, to the extent that they go for this, they're not just simps. They're suckers for this, man. The black civil rights leaders got to be rolling around in their graves. Like Fannie Lou Hamer has got to be fucking rolling around in her grave, man. Got to be. It's got to be, man. Emmett Till's mother got to be rolling around in her grave, man. But here's the thing, BGS. They are already Miss Ann's equal. They're already doing just as damn good as Miss Ann. You're already doing what Miss Ann doing. You are invisible. They're not fucking with you. They're fucking with us. Anyway, man, y'all ain't gonna talk to me. Don't nobody want to holler at me about this shit. So I don't know why y'all scared of me. But anyway, I am in pain, so I'm probably gonna take a chill pill from here on out, man. I'm gonna get ready to watch Dr. Johnson's show. I might even hop on Dr. Johnson's show if he'll have me. But it's miseducation, bro. It's miseducation. Reno said, GG, they don't care. Apparently, they don't care. Apparently, they do not give a shit. And this is troublesome, man. It's problematic, man. When BGS says go and recover, bro. Hey, man, all I do is pop pills, man. And, I got a whole bunch of food in the refrigerator. I can't do shit but eat milkshakes and fucking mashed potatoes right now. You know? But the oddest shit about all of this is, right? Here's the strangest shit. While all of this is occurring, and black women are demanding that they be, treated so much as equals to these white folks, then the next thing they do and say, the next thing they do is say, I need a man with money. I need a high value man, or some bullshit like that. Like, you just fucked off everything we're trying to do to establish ourselves to be on parity with white dudes, and the first thing you got to do is knock everything we even propose in relation to making those conditions tractable, workable, but then you demand a motherfucker with money to take care of your ass. They working as a team, we working at cross purposes. Man, you know how they say, motherfucker, you in the way, you in the game, you all up in the game, but don't deserve to be a player. You all up in, you in the way. You're in the way. Yeah, they want high value white men or his equivalent, but look, hey, you know, you ain't got white men. White men don't want you. Your hair too nappy, your ass too fat, your lips too big, and you produce niggers. Sorry, I didn't make that. I didn't make it that way. I didn't make you like that. That's God work right there. That's the crucial difference. Your hair is nappy. You produce niggers, nigger babies, and it is what it is. You ain't them. You ain't a Becky. And if you mad about not being a Becky, then you need to reevaluate and rethink what the fuck your goals are and what it is you ought to be trying to do. White women in the South, man, I tell you, man, them women lost their husbands, their fathers, their sons, their brothers lost the war. The first thing those white women did, man, they went to try to build those men up. That's the first thing they did. They erected statues and shit to honor them. They lionized those men who lost. These motherfuckers won't even fix your ass a sandwich no more. They won't cater to you at all. Now it's a problem with catering to black men. If that motherfucker's your husband, if it's your boyfriend, you ain't gonna cater to that motherfucker. Like, why are you even in a relationship with a motherfucker if you have no desire to do any work in behalf of improving the quality of that individual's life? Well, I don't give a fuck if it's male, female, whatever. None of them, any of them. Why would you even relate? If you can't relate to a motherfucker, why be in a relationship with a motherfucker? Now you can't even cater to your man. But everything about them demands you cater to them. You cater to their fucking hair, their nails, their fucking bank accounts, their safety. You cater to their every whim. But you can't even get a motherfucker to fix you a sandwich nowadays or some shit. Oh no, that's beneath me. I can't fix you a sandwich. Damn, I ain't even worth the sandwich or some shit. Okay. That's fucked up, man. Can't even get a sandwich, huh? You won't even fix my bath water, huh? But you want rose petals and shit everywhere and motherfucking gifts on Valentine's Day. And, you want motherfucker to just take you on a shopping spree here and there and vacations and shit like that. But you can't even, rub a nigga hair or head or shoulders when he get off work or some shit. You so preoccupied with being an asshole to the motherfuckers you in relationships with. You so preoccupied with being an asshole to the person you're in a relationship with, you don't even understand. You don't even get that you driving yourself into motherfucking isolation, man. I'm done with this, bro. They want to find a shit in life, but won't fucking do anything for you. They won't even show you gratitude. They gonna slap your ass after the Birkin bag. I saw the video BGS did the other day where, You got the girl Sweetie, she had Quavo. Her man was, Quavo was buying all kind of shit. She still arguing with this motherfucker and slapping and punching, acting like a motherfucking a ratchet ragtag run of the mill ghetto ass tramp. You can't even enjoy the luxury. You can't even enjoy the finer shit in life because you too worried about being some sort of boss ass bitch. But it's turned into an hour and 10-minute conversation, man. All I'm saying is, man, it just seemed like a lot of miseducation to me, bro. Sound like miseducation to me. So again, at first, black women were like, fuck work. My husband making some money. I don't have to go work in your house. I don't have to go work in your corporation. Because black women have always been forced to work in Miss Ann's house. Always been forced to work in Miss Ann's house. Negro women to be put to work. Look, the wives of the colored soldiers are getting a monthly allowance from the government, have a number of them decline to work on the grounds that they can get along without working. Some have refused jobs without giving any reason whatever. Now, you got black women fighting to be able to work. They're fighting to work with you. They're fighting against you trying to get work. Because if you get to work, it's sexist. Anyway, man, I'm gone, man. Y'all ain't gonna talk to me tonight. So, I'm in pain anyway, man. So I'm about to go ahead and cut off this joint, man, and get ready to watch Doc Johnson, man. I'll holler at y'all tomorrow, man, if I feel up to it, man. If I ain't got a headache and my teeth ain't all screwed up. But at the end of the day, if we knew better, we do better. But obviously we don't know better. Obviously. So anyway, man, y'all be peaceful, man. I'll holler at y'all, man. See y'all next time. One.